Life is messy. None of us really have a handle on it, even if we appear to. There's a lot that's out of our control, yet each of us has the power to choose how we react, and it all starts in the mind. Having a sound mind takes practice. I'm still learning new ways every day, but there are several strategies that have worked for me, and I want to share those with you in this video. I'm realizing one of my core values is peace. I started saying this phrase a few years ago. Protect your peace. Peace of mind and joy are available to all of us, but it's a gift we have to accept and receive. It's a gift I think a lot of us leave on the table because we choose anger, frustration, and disappointment instead. It's the easier choice in a lot of ways. But don't you think you deserve more? Conflict is high on the list of what usually threatens our peace, and how we handle conflict is critical to having a sound mind. Whether it's feeling frustrated in our relationships, feeling unworthy, or even experiencing tragedy or loss, there are certain things that we can do that will lead us back to peace. So the very first thing you want to do is give yourself permission to feel. Embrace the emotion, don't reject it. A lot of times we want to run from our feelings because it's uncomfortable, but it's really important to sit in it. I usually get alone and I allow myself to cry. I allow myself to feel angry. Technically, our bodies are actually ready to release emotion after 90 seconds. And if it lasts any longer than that, it's because we're choosing to hold on to it. And that is founded by a brain scientist, Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, and it's called the 90-second rule. So just think about that. Give yourself that permission for those 90 seconds, and then you can release it and detach. So as I'm sitting in the emotion, I'm also taking deep breaths, because we hold a lot of tension in our bodies when we are deep in emotion. You'll notice that sometimes your fists are clenched or your shoulders are tight. So by taking deep breaths and actively releasing the tension in my body, it's helping me to overcome that emotion. So then I'll also do maybe a combination of things following sitting in it and breathing deep. I might pray. I might ask God to just reveal to me why this is happening, or just to kind of find the joy in the midst of the pain, or a lesson in the midst of all of this. And just even praying, if it's something between me and another person, praying for that other person. Another thing I might do is journal. I think journaling is very therapeutic. For me, I know what it is for a lot of people, but by capturing how I'm feeling on paper, it's like a release from holding it all into my mind and my body. So putting it all out on paper, it's like, okay, I am able to let that go, and still it has its place somewhere else, but not inside of me anymore. I might also listen to worship music. Just hearing the word of God or hearing people reflect on how they feel about God helps me to put things into perspective and just to feel a lot more calm. So I think we all have certain music that makes us feel calm. So putting that on can really be helpful too. And then lastly, once you've kind of felt the way that you need to feel and kind of get alone, that's when you might want to talk to someone. You might want to talk to a trusted family member or a friend. And you might even want to talk with your therapist or consider going to therapy if you don't already go. So we've talked about conflict as being something that competes with having a sound mind. Another thing is stress. And we all deal with stress. But I think one thing to kind of help with that is to recognize our human limitations and give ourselves grace. And this took me a while to grasp, and I'm still not perfect at it. But life becomes so much less stressful when we accept this truth. We can't do it all. We can't be it all. That is not how we were created, and we are not God. I recently read the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, and I want to share with you a couple of quotes from the book that really help manifest this point. We live in a culture that wants to transgress all limitations, not accept them, to cheat time and space, to be like God. So that's one of the first things he says. Another thing that he says is, to be made in the image of God means that we're rife with potential. We have the divine's capacity in our DNA. We're like God, but that's only half the story. We're also made from the dirt, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're not God. We're mortal, not immortal. Finite, not infinite. Image and dust. Potential and limitations. Another quote to reflect on actually comes from one of my business mentors, and she said to choose the things that need perfection. Not everything needs that. Some things just need to be done well. And when I first heard her say that, it really was mind-blowing to me because I realized I was putting the same amount of effort and these high expectations across the board to every project. And not every project or not every task within a project needs the same level of effort, because that quickly leads to burnout, and it leads to you feeling like you're a failure or that you're not good enough, all of that. But it's just a lie that we tell ourselves, that we have to keep up and that we have to be the best or do the best in every little area and aspect. We can't do that. We just can't. Like some things, I'm not saying to not do things well, but some things can be done better than others with higher expectations or higher effort. But having the same consistent effort and high expectations across the board is really not healthy, and it's something that we should strive to change. So in recognizing our human limitations, I challenge you to write a note to yourself. Remind yourself of this truth and put it somewhere where you'll see it often. I recently did this and I put it on my mirror. You can also put it on your laptop. And my note read, note to self, I am not superhuman. I do have limitations. I have a finite amount of resources. I cannot devote the same amount of energy to everything I do. I refuse to burn out. I have to build in margin. And I can get things done well without getting things done perfectly. Deep breaths. You've got this. And referencing that note and reading it out loud to yourself, repeating it to yourself, will help establish that truth. So we spoke a lot about what it means to have a sound mind. And now I want to transition to talking about joy. And with that, it's really important to not wait for joy to find you. Seek it out. It's all around. One of the things that I do to practice this is going for a walk and asking God to speak to me through what I'm seeing, through the nature, and He'll do it. Make it a point to note your highlight of the day. That's another thing to do, writing down even what you're grateful for at the end of each day. And even just simply smiling, because even if we don't feel like it, our brain won't recognize the difference between a fake or a genuine smile, and we'll actually start to feel better because of the dopamine release. So joy is something that we can actually seek out, and it's also something that we can create, and that's even better. So what we can do is actually get silly and do something every day that brings out our inner child. And sometimes for me, this looks like a 3-second dance move where I'm just kind of shaking out and releasing that stress and just doing something that no one is really seeing, but it's just funny. And then it can also be an hour of coloring or something much longer that we're doing that brings out that inner child. We can also make someone else laugh or smile or do something for someone that will brighten their day. So far, I've shared how to protect your peace through conflict, how to recognize your human limitations when dealing with stress, how to seek joy, and how to create joy. And lastly, I want to share a practice that I recently started that has been life-changing for me. I started incorporating a Sabbath day into my weekly routine. And you may have heard of this. It is a religious practice through Christianity and Judaism, but it's when you simply just take one day a week to not do anything productive, and you focus on activities that recharge and refuel you. So I usually choose Sunday to be my day to do this. And really it changes how you spend the rest of your week because you're preparing to rest. You're preparing to take a pause and to rejuvenate. And so you have to plan for that. It can't just happen. But some of the things that I do during a Sabbath day is really just focus on connection. And that's connection with family, friends, myself, and God. I do things like read, write poetry, dance, sing, paint, play games, listen to worship music, read my Bible, things like that. There's no purpose in it. It's just play. If you've never tried a Sabbath day and maybe it's too much to commit to, there are several variations of it. You could do half a day. You could do 1 hour a week or 1 hour a day. You could try shutting off your phone, or you could leave it on, or leave it on for half a day and then turn it back on, have a couple hours where you just are able to connect and do what you need to do on your phone. But whatever it is, just the point is to build in rest, because when we build in rest, it's actually recharging our minds and it really gives us joy. And so I'll end with this. Remember, you have power and agency over your own life. You get to choose how you want to live it. No one can make you feel. We are in charge of our emotions. We may not be able to control circumstances, but it's how we respond to what life throws at us that will lead us to a sound mind and a joy-filled life.